Why, hello there, I'm Professor Joel, and welcome to another episode of Planet Scooby Reviews. Today we are covering episode 2 of season 2 of Scooby-Doo Where Are You, and it is called Haunted House Hang-Up. This episode originally aired on October 10th, 1970, and many Scooby fans claim it to be their absolute favorite out of any Scooby-Doo episode that has ever aired. The episode sees the gang broken down in front of an old haunted mansion, and they require some water to get the mystery machine up and running again as it has overheated. They run inside the mansion only to find a headless specter and a mystery of a hidden fortune. As it is a season 2 episode, we get a fun chase song and scene, and the song is called Love the World. We also get a lot of fun gags and a touch of mystery, but does this episode still hold up today? Let's find out. The episode begins with a headless man in some vintage clothing holding a candle walking through a dilapidated mansion. We then cut to the gang traveling in the Mystery Machine to a rock festival. I'm rather jealous as they're probably off to see Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, The Who, or Black Sabbath, who are among my favorite bands at the time.
Listen, you guys, don't wear yourselves out before we even get to the rock festival.
The gang just so happens to be lost, probably due to one of Freddy's shortcuts, so they stop to get a better look at a sign that is unfortunately unreadable due to age and weathering.
I wish I could find some kind of groovy road sign that would tell us where we are.
There's some kind of a sign.
Let's have a look. Right.
Well, that's a big help. I think we're in trouble already. Look!
A man by the name of Asia Shanks approaches them and tells them that they should get on their way. They tell the man that they are looking for Interstate number 5, and he explains that they should just go down the road until they come to a fork in the road. The right way is the short way and the left way is the long way, but the man advises they take the long way as the short way will take them past the haunted mansion, which is bad news bears due to it being haunted by the Headless Specter. Freddy inquires more about the Headless Specter, but the man tells the gang that nobody has ever met the Specter and lived to tell about it before blowing out his lantern and disappearing into the darkness.
Excuse me, sir, but...
Name's Asa Shanks.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Shanks.
What are you doing here?
We're on our way to the Rock Music Festival.
We're looking for Interstate number 5. Can you direct us, please?
Straight ahead till you come to the fork. Left fork is the long way around, right fork's the short. I'd go the long way if I was you.
What do you mean by the Headless Specter?
Ain't no one never met the Headless Specter and lived to tell it.
Jumping back in the Mystery Machine, the gang decide to take the short way as they are low on gas. Instead of running out of the gas, however, the Mystery Machine overheats later down the road and the gang stop exactly right in front of the haunted mansion. Scooby and Shaggy run off to a nearby well to get some water to cool down the Mystery Machine. However, they are confronted by a ghost rising from the well. Running back to the rest of the gang, he tells them about the ghost.
Hey, what happened?
Hey, what happened?
Where's the water?
The non-material embodiment or essence or organism that's seen as a specter, wraith, or apparition has been scientifically proven to be a sheer myth. In other words, there's no such thing as a ghost.
Looking down the well, they see nothing but water. Since there is no bucket to even get any water, they decide to head into the house in hopes of finding a bucket. Since there is a light on in the mansion, they hope someone can help them.
Look, guys, there's a light in that old haunted mansion.
Knocking on the front door, it opens up wide, so the gang walk in. A floating candle immediately chases them, and the gang end up in a spooky old room which is sort of like a den library. Here Shaggy sees a portrait of Jefferson Stillwell who is pointing at something. Shaggy looks to see what he's pointing at, but when he looks back, the portrait is missing his head. When he points it out to the rest of the gang, the head has returned.
I wonder what he's pointing at.
Where's his head?
Oh my gosh! I don't believe it! Look at that picture, you guys!
So what about it? It's a picture of a guy pointing.
Freddy thinks they've stumbled upon some kooky mystery, so they search the room for secret passages.
I think we've stumbled onto some kind of kooky mystery here.
They also hear a knocking noise, to which they go and investigate.
It seems to be coming from that direction.
As they leave the room, the Headless Specter enters and lets out a mysterious laugh as he goes through a secret passage and puts a decorative box down on a table. They follow the noise to a door and open it, where they spot the decorative box. Worried about what might be inside, they force Scooby to open it.
What's in the box?
Where they find Jefferson Stillwell's head inside.
It's Jefferson Stillwell.
Freddy knocks on the head and is relieved to discover that it's only made out of wood.
It's only a wooden dummy.
On the ground, they see some footprints, which eventually head off in two different directions. Shaggy, Scooby, and Velma head off in one direction, while Freddy and Daphne go in another. Shaggy, Velma, and Scooby walk into a dark room and decide to hold hands so they don't get separated. Complaining about how cold each other's hands feel, they exit the room only to find they are holding the hands of the Headless Specter.
I ain't going in there. No way.
Let's hold hands so we don't get separated.
For a girl, you sure got cold, clammy hands, Velma.
Your hands are like a couple of fish right out of the lake.
The Spectre laughs as they run off, and we cut to a chase song where the Spectre chases them around the mansion. The chase ends with Scooby, Shaggy, and Velma landing in the well, where they find a secret tunnel. Heading inside the tunnel, they go exploring. Elsewhere in the mansion, Freddy and Daphne find an old diary, and inside they find an entry from July 12th, 1822, which says, "Marching men in single file hide the secret. Stillwell shows the way."
Marching men in single file hide the secret. Stillwell shows the way.
They also find a trapdoor nearby, which leads to an old fruit cellar. Going down the trapdoor, they run into Scooby, Shaggy, and Velma. Starving, Shaggy opens up a can of food only to find balloons inside. Velma also finds a tank of helium. Realizing that the floating ghost they saw earlier in the well was just a balloon with a sheet on it, Freddy gets closer to the mystery. He also realizes that the portrait of Stillwell pointing is also a clue. So they head back to the den to investigate further. Velma figures out that he's pointing at a column, but when they look at the picture, he's pointing outside to a greenhouse. Shaggy and Scooby go outside to investigate. There they run into a Venus flytrap as well as the Headless Specter. Running away, Scooby and Shaggy run into the fruit cellar and use the helium balloons to escape back up the well. The Headless Specter has the same idea and chases them on his own balloon. Scooby's balloon hits a weather veil and sends him off and bashes him into Shaggy and the Headless Specter, where they all land in a chicken coop. Despite not having a head, the Headless Specter is now dazed and pops his head out, where we all discover it's Penrod Stillwell.
Oh, my aching head. I am Penrod Stillwell, great-great-great-grandson of Jefferson Stillwell.
He rigged the haunting floating ghosts and the Headless Specter picture to scare people away, as there is a hidden treasure in the mansion that is rightfully his.
I invented the legend of the Headless Specter to scare people away.
Once more hearing thumping noises, Freddy decides that someone else is looking for the treasure and sets a trap. Confronting the new ghost, they find a man with a sheet on his head using an axe to hack away at a pillar. The ghost chases them, and Freddy's trap, which is just a tripwire, causes the man to trip and bash into a pillar. They remove the sheet from the ghost's head, and it turns out to be Asia Shanks,
It's Asia Shanks.
Stillwell's greedy neighbor. They also discover that when Asia knocked the pillar down, there was a carpet bag hidden inside. As an aside, I had no idea what a carpet bag was, but it's exactly what it says it is. It's just a top opening bag that's made out of oriental carpet, and this was popular back in the 1800s. The carpet bag is full of money, and it is the Stillwell fortune.
And I'd have found it if it wasn't for you snoopers.
Satisfied, the gang head off after Mr. Stillwell points them in the direction of a pizza parlor. They also tie up the loose end about the portrait not pointing at anything. They figure out that over the course of 170 years or whatever, the portrait had been moved at one point, which is why the fortune had been lost all these years. I give this episode a 9 out of 10. This is one incredibly fun episode full of spookiness and humorous gags. The Headless Specter looks cool, and I love the way that the Headless Specter played with people, and he was playful, and he wasn't trying to hurt them. He was just trying to scare them away. The whole headless portrait and the head in the box gag was really incredibly funny and clever. And I also liked how he's holding Velma and Shaggy's hands in that one scene. Just really playful, fun stuff that I really enjoyed. Why this isn't a perfect 10 out of 10 for me is that I just naturally lean more towards spooky episodes. While I do like some humor thrown in, I found this one just was a little more funny than spooky. For example, the balloon with the sheet on it, it just looked kind of cheap and cheesy, and I guess while more realistic than other balloons they had, such as the which is which balloon, or the Ghost Con balloon. I just figured they would have designed this a little bit better. It just looks like a balloon with a sheet on it, which isn't that scary. I did actually find the second villain, the real villain, which is another thing I loved about this episode, the twist, the reveal of the second villain. I found him with his like sheet on his head. He was actually kind of scary with that axe because he reminded me of Jason from Friday the 13th Part 2. In that movie, Jason has a sack on his head, and they just kind of remind me of one another because they're both wearing like overalls and jeans, and they have an axe and a sheet or a bag on their head. So really creepy for me, but still, this episode was mostly gags than spookiness. A lot of cool set pieces though. I really do. 9 out of 10 is a very high episode rating for me. I just like those spookier episodes a little bit better. Anyway, I highly recommend this episode, especially for fans of Scooby-Doo or kids who get scared easy. This is the perfect Scooby-Doo episode to kind of introduce them to the world of Scooby-Doo. Join me next week when I'll be covering Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Werewolf. Once again, I want to thank you for your likes, subscribes, views. It keeps me going and it keeps me happy. Until next week, stay spooky.
I ain't going in there. No way.
Yikes! There is a headless specter!
Holy smoke! There really is a headless specter after all!
I tried to tell you.
Like, why are we here?